Welcome back, Smile Squad, to another episode of Smile Sessions, the podcast where we explore fresh ways to live healthier, happier, and more fulfilling lives. I'm Christina Perry, and today we're diving into a question that can change how you see the world. Whose reality is it anyway? Have you ever looked at the same situation as someone else and walked away with a completely different interpretation? You swear you saw things clearly, but they experienced it in a completely different way. Were they wrong? Were you wrong? Or maybe, were you both right in your own way? That's the power of perception and perspective. These two forces shape everything from our emotions and our relationships to our decisions and happiness. But here is the real kicker. If we can learn to shift our perspective, we can actually reshape our reality. Are you intrigued? Let's dig in. Let's break it down. Perception is the raw data, how we take in the world through our senses. It's the way that our brain processes what we see, hear, and what we feel. Perspective is the meaning we assign to that data. It's the lens we interpret what we perceive, shaped by our personal experiences, beliefs, and emotions. Imagine that you're at a party and you wave at a friend across the room. They don't wave back. Your perception is that you saw them look in your direction and not respond. Your perspective, that depends. Maybe you think, they're ignoring me. Or maybe you just assume they didn't see me. Same event, two different realities. And that is where the magic happens, because if our perspective is shaping our reality, that means we have the power to change it. Here's a mind-blowing fact. Your brain doesn't see the world as it is. It sees the world as you are. Why? Because of cognitive biases. Those are those little mental shortcuts that shape your thinking. Let's look at a few things that influence our perception every single day. I'm going to break it down. Perception is the raw data that helps you take in the world through your senses. It's the way that our brain processes what we see, hear, and feel. Perspective is the meaning that we assign to the data. It's the lens through which we interpret what we receive. Shaped by our past experiences, beliefs, and emotions. Imagine you're at a party and you wave at a friend across the room, but they don't wave back. Your perception is that you saw them look in your direction and not respond. Your perspective, that depends. Maybe you think they're ignoring me, or maybe you assume they just didn't see me. Same event, two different realities. And that's where the magic happens, because if our perspective is shaping our reality, that means we have the power to change it. Let's look at a few things that influence our perception every single day. Confirmation bias is when we seek out information that supports what we already believe and ignore what doesn't. Then we have negativity bias, where we focus more on the negative experiences than the positive ones, making challenges seem way bigger than they are. Anchoring bias is the first piece of information that you receive, and it sticks with you even if it's incorrect. The good news is, once you recognize the biases, you can begin to challenge them. Instead of assuming that your first interpretation is the truth, ask, what if there's another way to see this? Our backgrounds and experiences shape the way that we see the world. First up, culture and upbringing. Some cultures view direct eye contact as a sign of respect. Others see it as aggressive. For myself personally, eye contact is a big deal. When I'm out to dinner or just having conversations with friends, I feel it shows the person that I'm connecting with that they have my full attention. And this includes not actively looking at my phone. If you really want to engage in meaningful connections, we need to break the hold our cell phones have on us. Trying to multitask during conversations can make people feel unheard or undervalued, leading to weakened personal and professional relationships. This brings me to my next point, life experiences. If you've been burned in a relationship before, you might perceive someone's silence as rejection, while others might just assume that they're busy. Ever notice things seem to be way worse when you're tired, stressed, and even hungry? That's because our emotions color our perspective. Isn't that phrase just beautiful? When we can just color our world and see it through the lens that we wish to use. It can be bright and colorful or dark and gloomy. So, here's the challenge. The next time you find yourself making a snap judgment, pause and ask yourself, is my current emotional state influencing how I see this? Because often a shift in mood can shift our entire perspective. So how does perspective impact happiness and relationships? Do you want to be more happy? More at peace? Well, it starts with understanding that reality is flexible. Think about a time when you had a disagreement with someone. Were you arguing about what happened or about what it meant? Most conflicts aren't about the facts. They're about the perspective. So how do we fix that? By practicing perspective taking, which is the ability to step into someone else's shoes. Try this the next time you feel misunderstood. Instead of reacting, ask yourself, what could they be experiencing that I'm not seeing? Reframe the situation. More often than not, you're cut off by someone in traffic, and instead of thinking, why can't they just follow the rules of the road and then start honking at them? Maybe they received bad news that afternoon and they're just processing everything. It's important to communicate with curiosity. Instead of assuming, ask someone, hey, I noticed you were quiet earlier. Is everything okay? This simple shift can transform relationships, reduce stress, and make life a whole lot easier. So if perspective shapes our reality, how can we use it to our advantage? Here are 3 powerful ways to shift your perspective and create a more happier and fulfilling life. First, gratitude reframes reality. Instead of focusing on what's missing, shift your perspective on what you do have. By showing the universe you are grateful for what you already have, you can begin to start attracting more of the good stuff. Second, challenge negative thoughts. When you catch yourself in a negative spiral, ask, what's another way to see this? For example, you catch yourself saying, I'm not good enough for this job. Ask yourself, what evidence proves or contradicts this statement? Try reframing it into, I may have areas to improve, but I have valuable skills and I can learn. Then try acting on the reframe. Take a small step that aligns with your new perspective, like reminding yourself of your past successes or seeking feedback. Third, expose yourself to different perspectives. Read books, listen to stories, travel, or simply talk to people with different life experiences. When faced with a tough situation, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what is this teaching me? That one shift can turn obstacles into opportunities. Reality isn't just what happens, it's how we see what happens. Our perception is shaped by our perspective, and we can choose to shift it. So, my challenge to you this week, when you catch yourself feeling frustrated, stressed, or misunderstood, Pause and ask yourself, whose reality is it anyway? Sometimes the answer is simple. It just depends on how you look at it. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with someone who might need a fresh perspective. I'd love to hear from you. DM or drop a comment when you have time. Comment about a time when a shift in your perspective changed your reality. Tune in next week when we explore the powerful connection between our environment and our mental well-being. Until next time, keep smiling, keep growing, and keep seeing life in a whole new way. I'm Christina Perry, and this has been another session for your soul.